It happens in an instant. You're somewhere completely ordinary, a kitchen, a street corner, a conversation, and suddenly a wave washes over you. You have been here before. Not in the vague sense of a place you might have visited. In an eerie, total sense. This exact moment, this exact angle of light, the precise words being spoken, all of it has happened before. Exactly like this. You know it can't be true. You've never been here. And yet the feeling is undeniable, vivid. And then, just as fast as it came, it's gone. But the real answer is far stranger than a glitch in reality. Déjà vu, that uncanny sense of having already lived a moment you know is new, is not a memory of a past life, not a crack in the universe, and not evidence that time is repeating. It is something much more interesting. It is a rare moment when you catch your own brain in the act, when the hidden machinery that manufactures your sense of what is familiar and what is new slips just for a second and shows you its hand. And once you understand what's happening, you will never think of memory or reality the same way again. Let's start with what déjà vu actually is, because the name itself is a clue. Déjà vu is French for already seen, and researchers define it quite precisely. It is the strong feeling that a present situation is familiar, combined with the simultaneous awareness that this familiarity is wrong, that the situation is in fact new. That second part is crucial. Déjà vu is not just feeling like something is familiar. It's feeling that it's familiar while knowing at the very same time that it shouldn't be. It is two parts of your mind disagreeing with each other, out loud, and you getting to listen in. To understand why that disagreement happens, you have to understand a strange truth about memory. Your brain handles familiarity and recollection as two separate systems. Think about it this way. Sometimes you see a face and you know instantly that you recognize this person, and you also know exactly who they are, where you met, their name, the whole story. That's recollection, the full file, retrieve. But other times, you see a face and you're hit with a powerful sense that you know them, you've definitely seen them before, but you cannot, for the life of you, place them. No name, no context, just raw familiarity with no memory attached. That second feeling is your familiarity system firing on its own, without the recollection system backing it up. The two usually work together so seamlessly that you never notice they're separate, but they are separate. And déjà vu may be what happens when one fires without the other. Here is the leading idea. In a moment of déjà vu, something about your current situation triggers your familiarity system. It sends up a strong signal. This feels familiar. But your recollection system, when your brain checks it, comes back empty. There is no actual memory of having been here. So you are left with a powerful feeling of familiarity and absolutely nothing to attach it to. Your brain, sensing the mismatch, flags it. And that flag, that internal alarm saying these two signals don't agree, is the strange, prickling, uncanny feeling we call déjà vu. So what would cause the familiarity system to misfire like that? One compelling theory is about pattern resemblance. Your brain is constantly comparing your present surroundings against everything you've ever experienced, looking for matches. Sometimes a new scene happens to share its underlying structure, its spatial layout, the arrangement of objects, the overall configuration, with some old scene buried in your memory, even though the two are otherwise completely different. Imagine walking into a hotel lobby you've never visited, where the placement of the furniture, the doorways, the windows happens to mirror almost exactly your grandmother's living room from childhood, You don't consciously recognize the resemblance. The specific memory never surfaces, but the structural match is strong enough to trip your familiarity detector. The result: this place feels deeply known, and you have no idea why. Researchers like Anne Cleary have done elegant experiments on exactly this, building virtual environments that secretly share spatial layouts, and finding that people reliably report more déjà vu in scenes that structurally match a place they've seen before, even when they can't consciously recall the original. But there's another even more revealing window into déjà vu, and it comes from the brain itself. For some people with a certain kind of epilepsy, focus in the temporal lobes, the brain region deeply involved in memory, déjà vu is not a rare curiosity. It is a frequent and intense experience that can occur right before a seizure. The electrical disturbance in those memory regions appears to directly trigger the familiarity signal, producing déjà vu on demand without any matching scene at all. This is a powerful clue. It tells researchers that déjà vu is generated by specific memory circuitry in the temporal lobe, and that when that circuitry is artificially activated, the feeling of familiarity floods in, untethered from any real memory. The feeling, in other words, can be manufactured directly, which means familiarity itself is something your brain produces, not something the world hands to you. And that is the genuinely mind-bending implication hiding inside this everyday experience. The feeling that something is familiar is not a fact about the world. It is a signal your brain generates and attaches to your experience. And like any signal, it can fire at the wrong time. Normally, it's accurate. You feel that your home is familiar because it is. But déjà vu reveals that the feeling of familiarity is separable from actual memory. It can be switched on by a structural coincidence, by an electrical hiccup, by who knows what. And when it fires without justification, you experience the surreal sensation of recognizing a moment that has never happened. Notice what this means for the opposite case too. If your brain can make the new feel old, it can presumably make the old feel new. And it does. There's a mirror image experience called jamais vu, French for never seen, where something deeply familiar suddenly feels alien and strange. You stare at a common word until it dissolves into meaningless shapes, and you doubt it's even a real word. You look at your own hand, and it seems foreign. That's the familiarity signal failing to fire when it should. Together, déjà vu and jamais vu bracket a startling truth. Your sense of familiarity is a constructed layer painted on top of reality by your brain, and it can be wrong in both directions. So the next time déjà vu washes over you, don't reach for the supernatural. Something far more astonishing is happening. You are feeling the seam in your own mind, the precise line where your brain's familiarity system and its memory system briefly came apart. You are experiencing directly the fact that the warm sense of recognition you feel walking into your own home, hearing an old friend's voice, returning to a beloved place, was never coming from those things themselves. It was always being generated inside you, quietly, constantly, and handed to you as if it were simply true. You came here thinking déjà vu was a glitch, but the glitch is the gift. For one strange, fleeting second, the curtain slips, and you get to see something you're never normally allowed to see. That the feeling of having been here before, like the feeling of home, like the feeling that anything at all is familiar, is not a report from the world. It is a creation of your brain, offered up so smoothly, so constantly, that only when it briefly malfunctions do you realize it was being created at all?